I snapped at my daughter over chicken tenders, and it had nothing to do with her. And in that moment, I learned something about parenting I'll never forget. Hi, friends, I'm Stephanie, and on this channel, we talk about conscious parenting and nervous system regulation. And this is one of those real life moments that completely shifted how I show up as a parent. A few weeks ago, we visited the Biltmore estate for the very first time, and it had been one of those super fun, full family days. And as the sun was setting, we settled over to Antler Hill Village. The older kids were enjoying playing The Floor is Lava. My toddler was going headfirst down a slide, and it was really just one of those moments in those days that's picture perfect in every single way. And then I got triggered. I looked over at my husband and he was on his phone. I felt this immediate wave of frustration and confusion, like why and how could he be so invested on something on a blue lit screen right now when we have this amazing family moment happening around us? So I asked what he was doing, and the answer triggered me even more. He was drafting an email to a family member that we've had to create boundaries with, and this left me spinning even more. And instantly my mind started spinning. Why? Why now? Why here? It stirred up this deeper fear and this sense of chaos that we've worked really hard to move away from. And I could feel it in my body, that uneasiness, that lack of grounding. And I didn't pause, I didn't process them. I continued to carry them with me. A few minutes later, we headed over to dinner, and I was still feeling off, extremely unsettled and ungrounded. The menu wasn't exactly what we eat, but with hungry bellies and an approaching bedtime for our toddler, it was the best that we could do given our circumstances. And then my daughter looks at the menu and says excitedly, "I'm going to get the chicken tenders." And then I felt it again, that uneasiness, that need to control something because I'd already been feeling so out of control. At this point, I was completely dysregulated. My husband sits down, and she again, just as happy and excitedly, proclaims her dinner choice to him. Everything I'd been holding onto for the last 30 minutes exploded out. I snapped. "We know, we heard you," I said. And instantly I could see it. She just shut down. I could see it all over her face, and she retracted back into her chair. And right after I said that, I knew that none of this was about her. I had taken everything I was feeling and threw it on her, and that wasn't fair. But here's the part that matters most. It wasn't the moment that I snapped, it's what happened after that's really important. I got up from my chair, walked around the table, got down on my knees to her eye level. I hugged her and said, "I am so sorry if I made you feel like you did anything wrong, because you didn't, sweetie. I've been feeling really overwhelmed, and that's not your fault. I love you." And in that moment, something softened for her and for me. Because kids don't need perfect parents, they need parents who are able to repair and admit their mistakes. Because for me growing up, that was not my reality. There were no apologies, no conversations. Anytime that a parent did something wrong, I was simply met with guilt or shame, making me led to believe that it was entirely my fault. So I grew up believing that I was the problem and that I had done something wrong. So this instilled an enormous amount of anxiety in me, and becoming hyper aware of everyone else's emotions. Constantly wondering if I had done anything wrong, and constantly trying to be perfect not to upset anyone. All simply because repair never happened. And maybe you grew up in a home like that too, where emotions weren't talked about. So it's not easy for you to admit your faults or talk about your feelings or your emotions. And so now, as parents, we're learning in real time how to do things differently. Repair isn't complicated, it's actually very simple. It could look like taking a breath, getting down to your child's level, acknowledging to them what happened, letting them know that it wasn't their fault, and explaining to them how you were feeling in that moment that led to your reaction, hugging them, and simply telling them that you love them. Some simple language could look like, "I'm sorry I yelled. I was overwhelmed. It's not your fault. I love you." Because when kids understand our reactions, they feel safe. But when emotions are thrown around without any explanation, this creates a lot of anxiety and confusion and fear for children. We all lose our patience sometimes, and we all have those moments where we wish we would acted a little more gracefully. That's part of being human, but what matters is what we do after that moment. This is how generational patterns shift, not through perfection, but through humility and honesty. through accountability, and through coming back together in love. The goal isn't perfect parenting, it's raising kids in a home where mistakes are spoken out loud and then love comes back quickly. If this video resonated, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos, as every week I'm sharing a new video on conscious parenting, holistic wellness, and intentional living. I hope to see you next week. Bye.